from where you sit. Well, many thanks and welcome to another edition of the Trading Bell. This week on the program, we have a special guest, and that is Richard Quest, one of CNN's top anchors. Many thanks and welcome on my show.
Good to see you, sir. Thank you.
Well, Emin, first time in Kenya. What do you make of the country so far?
If you look at the country as a business environment and economically, it's doing extremely well. There are obviously major challenges as it relates to, say, China's investments and Chinese debt, the question of the government's budget deficit, the new tax, for example, on mobile transfers. And it's very easy to focus on those, and rightly so. The president and the government should be held to account. Mm-hmm. But coming from outside and looking in, I see a lot of other extremely impressive things. I see a young, educated workforce. I see M-Pesa and other mobile money transfers and apps, which is world leading. And here's something you won't think. I see streets that are clogged with traffic, but have no litter.
Mm-hmm. You find that quite fascinating?
I do, because if you look at New York in the morning, you look at outside the 7th Avenue where I live, it is litter galore. Mm-hmm. It is like some, I was going to say developing world countries, but then I realize I come here and I see nothing but clean streets.
Awesome.
But you see, it's not just clean streets we're talking about.
Yeah.
It's what does that mean? Mm-hmm. Why are they clean? So you have, for example, the new law on plastic bags.
Sure.
You have the law on littering from the local from the new councils.
Yeah.
With draconian fines.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very interesting dynamic, but I'm seeing a country of great opportunity.
Compared to other East African countries,
there we go.
Where do you place us?
You want me to choose between everybody? You want me to no. What was the question?
Give or take.
Look, you're obviously Ethiopia above you.
Yeah.
Geographically, the battle is ever going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
In the same way as between Britain and France. It's never going to go away.
All right.
But I think he who wins, or the country that wins the day, is that offers the best opportunity. And that means things like good laws, good governance, transparency, lack of corruption, all the things that international investors seek. Mm-hmm. And great work is being done here on those issues.
Sure.
But some would say not enough, but you can always say that.
All right. President Obama is on record saying that African countries don't need strong leaders. They need strong institutions. And this is tied to the governance narrative, where we are seeing as much as African countries are making strides, there's also the ghost of corruption.
With respect, it's not the ghost of corruption. It's sitting at the party table, drinking from the wine. No. The former president is absolutely right. Leaders come and leaders go. Mm-hmm. But if the institutions are strong, then the success is maintained. The great advantage in, say, the United States. Let's take the United States.
Yeah.
And let's look at, say, for example, under Donald Trump. And people are very excited and very distressed in some cases of what they see as Donald Trump doing this. But you don't look at Donald Trump, you look at the presidency. Mm-hmm. And you see that the presidency will survive whatever comes its way. It survived Roosevelt, it survived Nixon, it survived whatever it comes its way. So he's absolutely right in terms of institutions need to be built. But institutions go against strong dictators.
Sure.
They are the anathema of strong dictators, because a strong dictator requires everything in the name of glory of the dictator.
All right. Now, a question.
Which is why, by the way, here in Kenya, I asked the president, are you going to seek a third term? And he said no.
It's not constitutionally provided.
Right. But I was aware of that. So now I phrase the question, are you going to seek to change the constitution?
Now, we have a referendum coming up.
Sorry?
We have a referendum coming up.
But he says it's on other constitutional matters.
Sure.
So they haven't quite defined whether that's part of it. Now, the president has said he doesn't want a third term. Now, we all know that politicians, I don't want a third term. No. Well, if you insist If the public demand it, I cannot say no.
Let the people decide.
No, the people are telling me I must. Now, if he chooses to do this is what Mike Bloomberg did in New York when he changed the law.
Yeah.
And everybody, he got a third term, he got his extra term, but everybody said this was a farce, a fiasco. And so, Mr. President, let's see. If you truly believe institutions are greater than it's institutions before personalities, then you will recognise your time is up, it's time to go.
Now, Quest, I'm sure you've interacted a lot with some of the top CEOs in the country. And I don't know, is there a particular stock you'd like to buy on the exchange?
I needed to drink water at this point because you're effectively inviting me to tout a stock or to choose amongst, it would be very, very invidious of me to say, because I don't know I am sure that in this list of stocks there are many gems waiting to explode, but I don't know them. So as an aviation expert, I would probably...
I knew you were going there. You
did? You weren't. I said, well, because I see that its security name is the same as its
the company name.
KQ.
KQ.
And I'm assuming KQ is...
Kenya Airways.
Yeah, I think I like what I see with the management.
All right.
I might be... and I'm on the plane.
I know. We'll come to that. But really, looking at the African exchanges, we've also seen a lot of foreign investor participation. For instance, in Kenya, the participation is at about 65%. What does this mean to the local economy, as well as how we are perceived out there? Looking at the latest research coming out.
Okay, so first thing to understand, if the money flowing in is coming from international institutions, pension funds and the like, that is an indication that there is great satisfaction, or at least acceptance of your transparency, your compliance, your regulatory environment. That's crucial.
Yeah.
It's boring, but it's crucial. It means people are saying the Nairobi Securities Exchange is well run. Now you start looking at the individual stocks, well, there you can actually question one versus the other.
All right.
So I hate to use the phrase Africa rising, because some would say it's risen and some would say it's not even out of the shell. But we know, however many billion there are in Africa, that it's a population that is waiting to explode with a middle class that is going to greatly grow. I'm not saying the future is here. I'm saying one of the greatest investment opportunities is in Africa.
All right.
Providing there's transparency.
Interesting.
Good governance, proper regulation, saver deposit insurance where necessary, and ultimately corruption has to be rooted out. Sure.
And indeed, Quest, I'm just curious to find out, did you ever want to be an actor at some point?
Oh, I did amateur dramatics at school. To be or not to be? That is the question.
I asked that.
There's usually applause after that.
Yeah? Encore.
Ah, well, since you insist.
Now, my question is in relation to that, because I find you to be very animated, very energetic. Where do you get the energy from?
It's exciting. What we are talking about is exciting. It is the lifeblood of economies, and economies are the lifeblood of the people who live in the country. I do not give anything about these individual stock numbers. They are meaningless. EABL at 88,600 as quantity, the price is 190. It's meaningless. Meaningless until you know what EBL does or what ARM does and how many people it employs and whether it's going to get the next contract and whether it's going to export overseas or whether it's facing liquidation. Now, when you know that and you know how many jobs are affected, how many livelihoods, how many people are going to be promoted or have extra money, and those people who have extra money will be able to go out and buy another of these companies' products. Now, you don't find that exciting? Of
Quite
course it's
exciting. Oh, yes.
Absolutely. This is what life's all about. It's not about the dry numbers. It's about the companies and the people behind them.
All right. And what was your big break in your career?
The big break. I would say it was the stock market crash of 87, Black Monday. It was the stock market crash then. And I happened to be in the right place at the right time. I was in London. I covered it then. I was flown to New York and got to cover it. I was already a financial reporter, and that's where people sort of said, "Oh, he's not bad." It's not bad. We'll have a bit of that.
All right. And let's look at the bigger picture right now. In terms of how do we entice the African markets to foreign investors, over and above touching on issues you've talked about, governance, transparency?
Well, they are the issues. I mean, you know, first of all, you've got to have good companies with decent products or services that are profitable. Now, that's a starting point. Mm-hmm. Once you've got that, and then government has to create the environment that fosters new companies, it's good investment. So that's tax policy. Mm-hmm. Here's the really boring part about it. We're talking about the nuts and bolts. We're not talking about sexy things like the internet and quantums and, you know, social media. You're not talking about that. You're talking about the boring stuff of tax policy that allows companies to grow, local planning regulations, infrastructure of roads, internet. I'm guessing that in this building we have some of the best internet in the country.
Not just this building, entire country.
I'm guessing it's pretty good in this building because it's a stock exchange.
Oh, yes.
But yes, so these really tedious issues of investment, infrastructure, communications, all are crucial, and that's why government has a huge role to play.
Interesting. And Quest, you work at the CNN, and you have a very elaborate system in terms of research, gathering, things happening across the world. What are some of the learnings that African media can tap in, especially us as a media house, as KTN?
Don't worry about being first. Worry about being right. That's most important. Facts, 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 facts. If in doubt, don't say it, don't do it. So don't worry about being first, worry about being right. When in doubt, leave it out. Don't be afraid to say to the viewer, I'm very sorry, but we are waiting for more information on this, and we can't confirm exactly what's happened so far. What we know is this, what some people are saying is that, but we won't go into the realms of speculation. You have a duty, and your duty is to report that which has happened in a fair and honest way, period.
All right. And Quest, as we get to the tail end of this interview, I'm sure as you'll be on the inaugural flight, what are your expectations so far?
Oh, my expectations are it's going to be a bloody long flight.
15 hours?
It's going to be a bloody long flight. The plane will take off, the engines will keep going, and hopefully the pilot knows the way. I mean, you get on these long flights and you watch a movie, you have a meal, you sleep, you wake up, you have a cup of tea. Still got 7 hours to go.
Oh, yes.
And I've just done the longest flight in the world, which was Singapore to New York. It's nearly 18 hours.
Yeah, I watched that.
It's going to be, these flights, it will be funny. I've done a lot of them. And thankfully, I think a lot of people on the flight have done a lot of them. So it's a fairly experienced set of travellers.
All right. And for
what I really see, I think there's only 34 business class seats. What I'm looking forward to seeing is who gets them. Who does the CEO put in economy?
Quite a tedious task.
Dangerous. Dangerous to your career.
All right. And finally, Quest, what would be your message to upcoming financial journalists in a time where we are seeing a lot of disruptive technology?
Don't be blinded. Don't be blinded by cutesy newfangled ideas. Don't be blinded by people who tell you that the business cycle has been revolutionized and no longer exists. It's been reformed. It is a new business cycle. We thought that in the 1990s with dot-com boom and bust. We were told that the normal business cycle would never come back. It did. Don't be fooled by somebody who tells you this is so good that it will revolutionize the world. It may do. But you need to be skeptical, not cynical about its possibilities. And when you go home at night, just think, was it fair? Was it honest? And did I tell somebody something they didn't know? And if you can answer yes to all of those things, put your head on the bed pillow and sleep well.
All right. And Quest, I know you have a WhatsApp group with your family. How is your mother?
Oh, kind of you to ask. She's not enjoyed good health lately, but I think she's a lot better. And I'm looking forward to seeing her next weekend when I'm in London. So thank you. That's very kind of you to ask. She's 87. Doesn't get around as much as she'll know immediately where I am in the world, and she'll ask me what it's like, and I'm looking forward to showing her the pictures, particularly of my time at Giraffe Manor.
If you're not a news presenter, what else would you have been?
Oh, I'd love to have been a pilot, but God help the passengers. I mean, and I'd like to, do you know what my favourite title would have been?
Yeah.
Ambassador. I don't want to do the job.
Yeah.
I think it'll bore me rigid, or I'd find it very difficult or whatever. I don't want to do the job, I just want the title. The Ambassador.
Awesome. Great having you on the program, West.
Thank you very much.
A bear run is when a market goes down by at least 20%. So the market has dipped. Now the question is, at what point do we start expecting it to pick up?